Hi everyone. So good morning and welcome to this book launch and Father's Dairy. That's my fifth title, and thank you for joining in. Those and so I have with me two of my good friends, Poonam and Sanjay. So Poonam is one of my ex-colleagues from IBM, and she is she's a very good friend of mine, and today she's going to be here as the co-host. And Sanjay who is from Mumbai, Poonam, and your life on this call. Sanjay, now I knowing just months back, I mean, I think he's co-hosting, so it's a very good honor for me as well. So welcome Sanjay and Poonam, and over to you. Let's start the discussion.
Oh, thank you, Manan, for that introduction. Thank you, Poonam, see the nice of both of you and here. Uh, Amazing. I'm just loving it. I can't explain the feeling and the experience that I have as I'm part of this launch. So thank you, Manan, for this experience and for this beginning. So I have two couple of as I was reading this book, I have some questions for you, and I believe that the readers and everybody who is live on this session will benefit from these questions. So reading your book of Father's Diary has been a pleasant experience. Based on these insights and daily challenges that I face as a father, I have two kids. One is an 11-year-old and a 4-year-old. I have some beginning questions from you. And
Sure.
one of them, the first question that I have for you is what is the most valuable lesson that you learned from your dad as a father? I'm influenced by my dad.
Ah, interesting. So, when I try to remember my childhood days, I typically, there are certain incidents which you typically remember and they stay in your mind for a very long time. And one such incident which I remember was uh, I used a stapler, to for some of my school work. I used his stapler, my dad's stapler, and I used it and kept it back. Very simple thing. And after a couple of days, my dad, used the same stapler, and he, scolded me. So I asked him, what is the issue basically? Why is he scolding me? So he said, you used the stapler, you consumed the pins in the stapler, you didn't put it back. You know, and it was such a big issue for him. And that time, of course, I felt bad that it's such a small thing that I didn't, he could have just uh, picked up the pins and, put it back in the stapler. Not a big deal. But today I realized that such small things in life had such a big impact later on. It's not about putting a pin in the stapler is a big thing or anything, but the value of small things that we don't appreciate uh, when we are young or nobody teaches us, we tend to ignore such small things in life. And I think that's one thing which I learned from him was, I mean, everything in your house, be it a book, be it a watch, be it a pin, be it a pen, anything that you see in your house has to have an address. Okay, it has to have a fixed location. If it's not there, you got to create one fixed location. Okay, and the benefit that you'll get later on is that the retrieval time is so fast when you put things in the right address that you're going to save on a lot of time. And I know as you grow, you'll realize that time is going to be the biggest crunch in your life. So that's one thing which I learned from him, the value of doing small things right. And I still value these things so much in my life, and I try to coach people on this particular aspect. The second thing which I learned from him was uh, discipline. He had a very specific time, 11 o'clock in the night. He's going to go to sleep. Whatever happens, okay, he's feeling well, he's not well, or he's some other work, he'll put it on the next day. He is going to go to sleep on 11 at 11 or whatever time you guys fix. So anybody can decide the timeline, but whatever timeline you decide, you got to honor it. Okay, so that's another big lesson which I learned was discipline. So not only about sleeping time, any activity that you do, whether it's waking up, having breakfast, going for a walk, or anything. So and I've talked to so many people who are today in their 80s and 90s. And in Touchwood, my dad is also closing on to 90s and is very healthy and Touchwood. And I realize that these are the things, the discipline, the commitment to yourself that you have, and not getting swayed away by situations. These are things which I really learned from him, and I didn't realize the importance of these things at that age. But today I truly appreciate him for all those things which he taught me, consciously or unconsciously, whatever. But I think these are the two things I would say, Sanjay.
Wow. So one is, of course, say for example, I really loved it. That is every item in house has an address. The other is discipline.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Right. So Manoj, everything in its place and a place for everything. That's like, I think it's a great lesson that you learn from your dad. And all of us, learn a lot from our parents. We pick up values from them. We even pick up the belief systems from them.
Right.
We can also be a little partial to them, like I'm my dad's girl, so I'm closer to him. I talk to him more than I talk to my mom. Even parenting style,
Yeah.
invariably each of us are more inclined to pick up parenting style from one of our parents, be it our
Right.
mom or be it our dad.
Right.
So in your case, whose parenting style, influenced your parenting style? Was it your mom or was it your dad?
Okay, interesting. Uh, well, as I said, from dad, these are the few things which I learned, and his parenting style was quite, kind of a disciplined guy, and doing everything right, and not, you know, so everything was like to be done right way. The only thing which I missed in that, was not having the freedom to do mistakes. That I missed that part, and I was fearful of doing mistakes when I was at that age. And so that was from a dad's perspective, and from my mom, I would say, um, her parenting style was obviously very, very different. She didn't bother too much about discipline, as usual with husband wife. They're usually very different. And but she loved me a lot. Of course, I was the youngest in the family, and she loved me a lot, and she used to defend me against any indisciplined activity that I used to do. So she used to defend me from my dad. So I think I loved the style of loving and defending from my mom, and discipline and commitment from my dad. But I would say today, if I have to teach my children, and whatever I've tried to uh, show it to them, is that they should be free to do mistakes. I don't want to discipline them. Of course, I got to tell them the advantages of being disciplined. I got to tell them how it benefits them, how it benefits keeping small things in place. But then give them the freedom to do whatever they want to do. Remind them the advantages again, but don't expect that they would follow it in one shot or 10 shots or 100 shots. They may take 10 years to start following it. So you have to give that freedom and the freedom to do mistakes. And a lot of time, I never chose my career, although I wanted to do something very different. But then those days, doing different things was not an easy option. So at least nowadays, I'm allowing my children to do whatever they want to do, in spite of so much pressure. My children, although they were scoring very good marks, uh, the obvious choice was engineering, medical, and all. They have different streams. The younger one wants to. I mean, she's taken up subjects like fashion designing and taken up subjects like music in 11th and 12th, and thing. And the elder one is moving to environmental science as a subject. So I think they're trying out different things, and I'm trying to allow them space to do and try and make mistakes and change later on. Whatever they want to do in life, try and experience that, rather than me pushing them into fixed streams. So I would say I learned a lot from my parents, but there's certain additions which I did, and I'm trying to have a hybrid kind of a parenting style with my own children. So that's how it's going right now.
I think the one thing that you said about the freedom to make mistakes is very important.
Yeah.
I think every parent needs to unlearn that part,
Hmm.
because we try to be protective of our children. We
Hmm.
try to save them from the embarrassment of failure, which
Yeah.
is not really truthful all the time. I think that is
Right.
a very important ingredient of parenting that all of us have to start having.
Right. Right.
So, excellent thoughts, Mother.
Thank you. Yes.
Thanks, Poonam, and unlearning. My God, that's something which is really, really difficult. Ask my wife how much I unlearn, and she has a list that I have not unlearned. Okay, so like yes, there are certain styles that I have picked up from my father and mother as well. Mother was really, really loving. I really miss her. Okay, now I have one question, and this bothers me almost every day.
Hmm.
Every day, I try to work on this every day.
Hmm.
Well, and in today's generation, I think every parent has this question. You might have the answer. Is that how did you encourage your children to read? I sit with my elder one. I take a book and read, and after some time, I am seeing that he is wavering here and there.
Hmm.
Really difficult. How did you manage to do that?
So, I mean, of course, you can't push anyone to read. I mean, unless somebody gets an interest. I used to read a lot at that time. I was doing a venture called as Amway at that time when my children were very small. And one of the things that I was doing as a part of that was reading a lot. Building up my dreams. And in fact, this dream of financial freedom also originated at that time. So I was reading a lot but the fact that I didn't have a lot of time. I was busy in a job and then two small children. So of course it was taking a lot of time, but I still used to read a lot. I used to listen a lot. I used to listen to audiobooks while driving to office and so on. So I think they saw me doing all that, and uh, of course I mean there were a lot of times when in spite of being tired and exhausted, I used to spend an hour in the night after coming from office reading them stories. And I was good at reading, and I think they picked it up somewhere from there. As it happens in many cases, children usually pick up what you do rather than what you push or what you say. So that's what happened with them. And fortunately or unfortunately, uh, I mean, they started reading certain kind of novels at a certain stage, and I have seen parents, uh, asking children not to read a particular kind of novel because that may have a certain content which may not be appropriate to their age or things like that. But I have never, kind of discouraged them or kind of stopped them from reading anything. They are wise enough. They have a good environment at home, so they understand what's right and wrong for them. Yeah, of course, if it's going to an extreme, we may tell them certain things, but again, we're not going to push them to stop reading a certain thing and start reading something else. So they started with novels, and the stage has come where, I mean, they've gone through all this Percy Jacksons and Harry Potters and everything, and now a stage has come when my elder one, who is just moving to college, um, so she has started reading self-help books of her own. No, I wanted her to read self-help books when she was, let's say, 9th and 10th. But of course, I didn't push. And good, I didn't push. Now she's herself asking for those kind of books. And I think that's what the benefit is if you don't push. When they get interested, then you can't stop them also. So I think that's how it happened. So I think it's all about how much you read. So I used to read around 50 books a year, so one a week basically. So that's how they, realize that it's important.
That's a good takeaway. I read a lot. I think that's something that I'll be able to transfer. But one important thing that I take away from here is don't push.
Yes.
I'll keep that in mind. Yeah.
So, Manoj, does Archie count as reading? Because
Of course.
my younger son reads only Archie.
Let him.
That's all he
You-
will read.
so you-
Archie. I asked
you're-
him to read, and he said, "Okay, I'll read Archie."
Absolutely. You have to get more Archie's novels and digests for him and give it to him as a birthday gift. I mean, you have to just encourage. Reading is a habit, and I mean, the style of reading will change, the content will change, everything will change with time, and as his mind matures. But if he is fond of reading anything, I remember an incident, Poonam. When I was, let's say, I don't know how old is your kid, whom you're
He's
talking
8.
about, 8. And when I was around 10 years or 11 years, I used to read only comics. Okay, and that too in Hindi, no English. I wasn't fond of English at that time. So, and my brother, who was around 15 years elder to me, he was very good in English. He wanted me to read English. So what he did, he used to do was he used to go to the market and he used to bring me 20, 30 comics together, all English ones, just so that I can read comics and learn English as well. And I think so he never said don't read comics and you read certain good books or things like that, but he just encouraged me to read more. So I think that helped, and time will come when your children will automatically stop reading Archie's or any other comics, and they will start go to the next level. And so it's all about developing that habit of reading rather than what they are reading.
Right, right. And your story about comics, it reminds me. I was sharing with my kids last night only that when we were small, we had these comic shops around the
Hmm.
corners, and we used to go and rent out
Rent out, yes.
comic
I
books. Yeah,
remember.
we used to read Chacha Chaudhary,
Ah,
Babu, Billu.
absolutely,
So my
absolutely.
kids were like, "What is that?" I
Ah,
said, "You guys have missed a lot,
ah,
because we had a lot of less distractions. So
ah.
book was more like our imaginative outlet, right? We used
Right,
to go
right.
there and to get that creative outlet.
Absolutely.
So I mean, for kids, they have so much to do.
Yeah.
And I think another thing that you said in your answer is about, say, wisdom, right? That kids generally graduate, evolve to get that
Right,
wisdom. Although,
right.
from a parent's perspective, that wisdom may be still relative, right?
Yeah,
Because
true.
what I may think as child may not be the same as my
True,
child
true,
thinks. That is something as well that we need to maybe learn and remember.
Yeah.
One thing maybe that, and this is more like a personal question, it is a dilemma that I face and maybe a lot of other parents face as well, right? My elder son, and as you know, I mean, he's a survivor, right? He's been through a lot. And, every time I, go back to his doctors and tell him that, complain that he's not studying, he's not putting in the amount of work he can do. I mean, he has skills, he's got capability, he's becoming complacent. His doctors, give me that old routine of, chill out, it's okay, let him have fun. So it's like a very thin line that, as a parent, you're walking, because you want your child to grow up, you want them to learn to have fun, you want them to learn to unwind, you want them to learn to, value life, treasure it, explore it. But then you also want them to be competitive, right? You want them to have a little competitive edge, to get ahead, to get smart. Because the world out there is not really, all friends, all supportive, all helpful. So you want them to be a little prepared for what they will be handling at a later stage in life. So how do you handle that? What's your parents? What is your advice to parents on that?
So I have gone through a pretty rough experience in my childhood, the same kind of experience that you are having today as a parent. Uh, so I used to be pushed a lot. My dad, I used to get a lot of push to study more. And you know what it resulted in ultimately? It resulted in continuous deterioration of my results. And there was a time when I was in ninth standard, I failed. So it reached that point where I actually failed in the class. And I mean, again, I got scolded for that, which is a different thing. But what I realized was the more you're going to push, the more they're going to go away, from whatever you're pushing them on, whatever be it. So, and your experience in terms of trying to make them achieve more, I don't think you can make anyone achieve more. It's all about giving them the freedom. That comes it's very difficult. It's very easy to say, but very difficult to implement, to give them freedom. uh, if a child is scoring 95%, parents usually don't push. Okay, he's anyway scoring 95%, so there's no need to push. If the child starts scoring 80%, parents tend to become a little pushy. And if it's 60%, then there's a different problem at hand. So the problem is that not everybody would be interested in all the subjects. So you got to give them that choice, that freedom, that luxury, that space to grow. And if you're going to push them in one direction, they're not going to get headed anywhere. And it's honestly going to add pressure on them. Even whatever their capability is today, they may not be able to score as per that. And coming to your point, I think in life, in life it's not about what you're going to achieve. It's all about what you're going to experience. In the end, as we say, life is a journey, it's not a destination. We keep saying all these things, but ultimately, if we don't, really implement these things with our children, where are we going to implement it? So let them have good
Right.
experience in life. They will find a way. You look around, how many children are there who have not found a way? I mean, once you've grown up, you find a way for yourself. So let them go at their pace, be their friend. If they're asking questions, try to guide them. Don't push on them. You don't have to mentor them, coach them. कुछ करने की जरूरत नहीं है. My view is, you have to give them space. We become too possessive, we become too worried about our children's future, and try to push them into a certain direction. But I think it's very difficult to give that space. But if we can give that without worrying about what society is going to say or what X person is going to say, they're going to blossom into beautiful human beings. You don't have to worry about their career, their future, anything. Give them the environment, give them whatever financial support they need, give them the parenting support they need. Nothing else. Don't be there to choose their career path. Don't be there to see whether they'll be able to compete or not. They will find their uh, passion where they will be very competitive. Okay, they may not be competitive in today's subjects maybe, but they'll find it and then they'll be automatically competitive. That's my view and that's how I deal with it, and that's how my children, they're going into, as I said, very different streams. I know they're going to be competitive there because that's what they love doing. So when you love doing something, there's no competition there then, because you never get tired of it, and you are always going to be the best. You're going to skill yourself up automatically. No push is needed. Nothing is needed. So that's my view, Poonam.
Right. So, Manoj, I think you also have it in your book, right? Where you say that every person has a different say, definition of success. So, I think what you're saying now also boils down to the same thing, right? We should let our children go back and define what for them is successful, what for them is a good score,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
makes them feel happy and content
One.
instead of me being worried about it.
I'll tell you one practice which we adopt at home, which lowers down a bit of stress on our children in today's competitive world. I mean, you can teach your children to not worry about competition, but then the school, the society is always going to bring them back to competitiveness. So there's one practice that we adopt in our home, which I mentioned in my book as well, which is usually people go and celebrate results. You got a you passed or whatever percentage you got, whether 70, 80, 90, doesn't matter. But when the results come, you go and celebrate. We don't do that in our home. What we do is, if we feel that my child has uh, done a good effort in preparing for the exam, she has gone and given the exam, and she's come back, we go and celebrate. It's the effort that we celebrate. It's not, we don't wait for the result to come and celebrate, because ultimately if you're waiting for the result, then we are again, knowingly or unknowingly telling them that the result is more important than the effort you put in, and then it creates stress, because results are never in your hands. I mean, in your child's hands. In spite of the best effort, he or she may get 80% instead of the expected 90%. So results are never in your hands, and to convey that message, you got to implement certain practices, and this is one of the practices that we implement in our house. So no party on results, party is on finishing of exams.
Good tip, good tip. Then we'll be having a lot more parties as well. So, yeah.
Results don't matter. You have to tell them that it's effort that matters in the end.
That's very interesting. Quite a learning for me, and I remember that lesson when I was reading from the book Father's Diary, and how your wife actually, and it was like the word picture was created in how your wife said that let's celebrate the effort, and your elder daughter had prepared for the exam and all, but she said no, let's celebrate the effort.
Right.
That's one learning that I'm also taking. Quite interesting, and it really touched my heart. Really touched my heart. And one more learning that I would like to, I mean, but very difficult to implement, but very nicely put in your book is that make your passions as your focal point, let your profession revolve around it.
Yeah.
And while you spoke all these things, that kept on coming to my mind. You spoke about your children taking the offbeat road. I think that's interesting. That's very, very interesting. Now, yes. wife and we discussed that what should be the values as a parent that we need to transfer to our kids. We have some set of values that we have got from our parents, grandparents as well.
Right.
I mean, so what is that? That we should transfer to them. So as a parent, my question to you is that what are your values?
So no, I believe in a very simple value, which is, and it's only one, which is add value to everything. So what I mean to say by that is, uh, if I'm going to the kitchen to drink water, and I pour the water in my glass, and if I see there is something which is not in the right place, I will drink the water, keep the glass in the right place, and do something additional which adds value to the kitchen or the space around me. Okay, it's a very simple example I'm telling you. If I'm sitting on this table, across the table today, when I go back after this session, I'm going to do something good for this room. This is my kid's room, my elder daughter's room, and I'm going to add some value to this room before I leave. I have taken this room from her for 1 hour, and when I leave, she will find the room more valuable than what it was when I entered. Okay, so question, and same goes with the people also around you. When you meet someone, you got to add some value to that person. You got to help him or her. It's not only about helping monetarily or any other way. Just listening to a person could be a help to that person. So whosoever you meet, whichever place you go, even in your house, within your house, if you can add value, I think that's your purpose of life. That's my purpose of life, at least, that I want to add value. Now we have this NGO, for example, Culture, that we run, where we go and plant trees. So I mean, just take the same adding value to a little bigger perspective or a bigger picture. What I thought before opening this NGO was, okay, I came to this planet. I consumed so much when I came, since I came, and I've been consuming and continue to consume for many more years. So how am I going to add value to the planet? Okay, so I decided, okay, I'm going to plant trees. At least some rent I'm looking at this planet. Okay, and I mean, otherwise we are all consuming. Every day we are consuming so much from this, so much energy, so much resources. How am I going to give back? So I think this giving or adding value, this I believe is the only purpose in the end which gives you that happiness, that satisfaction, um, which people long for. People tend to earn money and buy things to be happy, basically. And I believe that adding value is the crux which gives you that happiness that you've always been looking for. So that's one thing which I always try to showcase to my children, try to tell them whenever I get an opportunity. Of course, again, I can't push them, but I tend to look for opportunities where I can add value in the house. So if I take their laptop, for example, then I'm going to charge it and give it back to them. I'm not going to give it back, use it and give it back to them. So very small things, but they have to find that. I will clean the laptop and give it to them. I'm not going to give it the same way I took it. It has to be better than what it was when I touched it. Okay, so that's one thing. Second, which most people tend to ignore, is apart from our academic knowledge that we give to our children, and we all parents tend to give the best of the academic knowledge. I think it's the spiritual knowledge which we totally ignore. Okay, and in life, academic knowledge will help you get a good job, good money, good position, good fame, probably. But the satisfaction, the happiness, dealing with situations, that's what spiritual knowledge is going to give you. And we miss giving it to our children. Most parents I talk to, they say children children are not interested, in that particular thing. But what if children say they're not interested in the academic knowledge? So we tend to tell them that, okay, no, you don't have a choice. You have to have clear 10th, 11th, 12th. You have to do that. So what about spiritual knowledge? I think we're missing on that, and that's why you see so many cases of suicides and all this negativity around you. So unless you know how to deal with this negativity, unless you teach them to your children, it's going to be very tough for them in future, because in future these things are going to increase. The diseases are going to increase, negativity is going to increase. So they got to learn to deal with it, and that's where connecting them to God is important. And for that, you have to be first connected, of course. They are not going to get connected just like that. They're going to watch you for many years. They may not get connected to you till they are with you. Probably after they leave you, face challenges of life. At that time, they'll get connected. But let it be that time. Unless they see you doing it, they will not get connected even that time. I mean, unless they see you. So I think these are the two things I would say. Uh, One is connecting with God or spirituality, very, very important. And so I think basically these two things really help your children, become positive in life and add value to everything that they touch.
Uh, amazing takeaway. Spiritual learning, and the other is add value. So I'm also using my kids' room. So when I step out of
Yes,
this room,
you
today
should.
I'm going to ensure that the
Yes,
room is
you
better
should.
than what it was. So this is amazing. I mean, amazing. Right. Thanks.
Right. So and Manoj, even if as a parent you try to convey the same message to both the children may not pick the same message, right? Because they are all say different, right? My kids, I have two boys. Both of them are as different as chalk and cheese. Okay, they're like worlds apart. Their personalities are apart. Their interests are apart. Their outlook to life is apart. The things they like are apart. So as a parent also, you have to be very agile. Especially now with so much happening, so much distraction, so much to catch up on, so much to do. How do you manage that? What is your advice to parents on how to be agile?
Well, children are different. That's not only with your children, Poonam. I think
Everyone.
anybody who has more than one child would understand and appreciate that children are vastly different. In my house, uh, my elder one is so serious about academics and studies, and even one mark here and there, she takes it very seriously. The younger one doesn't bother about 10 marks also. Um, the, for both of them, there is no vegetable which is common to both of them, not even a single. So imagine what my wife has to go through, and I'm sure you are also going through the same things.
I relate to
Uh,
that. Yeah.
uh, so they're going to be different, of course, and in terms of the point of view, everything is different. But that's the beauty of life, isn't it? I mean, uh, it's our uh, blessing that they're different because uh, when you're interacting with two different people, you have two unique opportunities to learn. In a relationship, my view is
Right.
you are not here to, uh, I mean, take anything from your children. You are here to serve them. And to serve them, I mean, they're the children of God, so you got to serve them. To serve them, two different people, two different individuals who are coming from two different backgrounds from their past birth, is an opportunity for you to get wiser, to handle situations differently. And that's how I look at it. And I have a on-off switch when I'm talking to my two children. Um, when I talk to one, I have a different switch where I have to really switch off my mind and switch on the other part of my mind if I'm talking to my other child, because they're just so different, and that's how they're supposed to be. But that builds me up as a person. I can handle two different situations uh, very easily now, and if they're both together and debating with me, then it's a very different challenge to handle the situation. So these are the skills which I am developing because they're different. So I think when you when you take them as different, when you see them as different, realize that it's an opportunity you have got uh, to get more wiser. If they were the same, you would definitely have been less wiser than what you are today. Uh,
Right.
so so I
I
think
might even be bored for that matter.
even
Because
be bored, yeah, of course.
yeah.
So I think that's all. It's all, again, as I said, it's all about what we think, how our mind works, and if we look at it that way, that okay, now I have a chance to become even wiser by talking to two different individuals who think very differently, then I think you will take it quite positively. You don't have to really uh, uh, have any technique to handle it because each child is different. But I think look at it as an opportunity to for yourself to become wiser, and that's what's going to help you deal with the situation as well.
So,
That's
thanks, Manoj.
that's amazing. पूनम और कितने agile हो मैं पता नहीं है. Agile
I know. Boss कहते हैं agile हो, parents कहते हैं agile हो, पति कहते हैं agile. There is a new buzzword.
Yeah. Okay. So with that, I have, I know, I mean, as I was reading one of his books, there's something that I read while reading that, I mean, while he was answering your question, something that came to my mind. Manoj says in his book that with my elder one, I am kind of debating. With my younger one, I'm listening. So that was a reflection for me. With my younger one, how I should be, and with my elder one, how I should be. So yes, these both kids are teaching me lessons, and I agree with Manoj what he just said. Thanks, Manoj, for that lesson. There is a typical insecurity that I face, and
Uh,
let me be very frank, and let me bring out my heart out here. Is that sometimes I feel how as a parent can I raise independent kids without feeling reliant, and ये तो ठीक है मुझे पता है कि बड़े हो जाएंगे. I discuss with my ex-boss also. She says that my children are now trying the nest, and I always ask her, and I'm asking the same question to you: can I raise independent kids without feeling reliant? This is something that I think it's my insecurity that I want to ask.
okay, so let me ask you a question, Sanjay. What is the most important relationship for you today in life? You have to name only one.
So I think my wife,
Okay,
I know that.
right. Poonam, yours?
That's a trick question. You're going to put me on the spot.
Yes.
But I think as a mom, I feel it's more important. Because I mean, they are the only parties who are dependent on.
Yeah. So I think that's the crux of the issue that we all have. Not only both of you, even I had, and most of us have, is our most important relationships are people who are going to leave us. Um I think we are somewhere missing out on the relationship that's not going to leave us, and which is our relationship with God. And the moment you connect yourself strongly there, you are never going to feel redundant. Okay, uh, because He's going to teach you, He's going to hold you, He's going to guide you, He's going to talk to you, He's going to do everything. You will never ever in life feel redundant. Uh, and for God, all are same, you know. So your children, that's your definition that they're my children. They're not yours actually. You're here to uh, here for a certain time with them to care for them or do whatever, give support to them. But they are not your children. They are His children, God's children. So He's going to take care of them. If you get strongly connected with God, and if a stage comes in your life when your most important relationship is with God, you will stop feeling redundant. And I have experienced that, not that I'm a big spiritual guy or anything, but I think I'm slowly moving towards that direction. Uh, and I think I'm realizing it. And I mean, my parents were there yesterday here, and we were kind of doing some get together. And then they were saying, okay, your Arushi, who's my elder daughter, she's going to go to college now, so you're going to feel alone, you're going to miss her. And even today, even if I visualize that fact that she's going to go after 1.5 months, and I don't feel that I'm going to miss her. And some of you may feel that's not a good thing, but I feel that's a very good thing because I'm there to be her support system for the rest of my life. But I don't want to miss her. I want to support her. I want to be with her, have a very strong relationship with her, which I think I have achieved. And I don't want her also to miss us. She needs to fly, she needs to blossom. And if she's going to miss us, then it's going to be a constraint for her to really blossom in life. So I think if you get connected with God, there is no question of feeling redundant because that's a permanent relationship, not only in this lifetime, even the next lifetime. This may sound a bit philosophical today, but if you slowly start connecting, you will realize the value of it. That's what how I have realized, and that's what I would suggest. It's very very important.
I think what you said, Manoj, it brought home a point, and this is many years ago. Every time we have a child, is like and when the child is small, we take him to church for something called a dedication, right? So it
Mm.
means that you are taking your child to church for the first time. And I think one of the things that every time the priest over there says, in terms of the scriptures, is that, this child has been given to you by God, and do you pledge to take care and support it
Yeah.
and bring him towards the path of God?
Hmm.
But like all parents, I heard it once and I don't remember it.
Yeah,
But I
true.
think what you are saying is something that rings a bell, that maybe we should keep ourselves, reminded of such facts, that children are something that we have been given as a gift, as a responsibility to support, nurture, and give them wings to fly so that they find
Yeah.
their own.
And this is what you give them, but in while you're giving them these things, remember that you are nurturing yourself as well, because it's
Yeah,
helping you become wiser and helping you become better.
right,
So that's very important, because in many cases this also happens that the parents feel I have done so much for my child, and he or she is
right,
not caring much about. You did it for yourself. You had certain karmas to settle. You had to improve yourself, so you did it. Okay, so
right.
don't ever feel that you did something which is for the child. You did it for yourself.
Right.
Okay, yes,
Right. So I think, Manoj, thank you for wonderful insight, and for sharing the triggers that you had, to share all your wisdom and knowledge on parenting, your experiences as a father. I think I think being a parent is something that you do, and which changes you. Once you are a parent, you cannot unbecome a parent. You have that feeling with you forever.
true.
I think apart from us, we also have some say readers on the call with us,
Okay,
and I would like to invite them now to maybe share their insights and their experiences
okay,
on reading your book, A Father's Diary. I think I'll invite first Ganesh to share his learnings or his experiences from reading A Father's Day.
Okay, good morning. I hope I'm audible here.
yes,
Yeah, absolutely clear, Ganesh.
Right, thank you very much for this invite. To me, this Father's Diary, I had lots and lots of insights and learnings from this book. Particularly, my favorite was so-called ground rule number one written in the book. I think Manoj also today, in one of his answers, put it very aptly that children are influenced by what they see rather than what they hear, basically. Because children, I realized personally in my child also that when I do something, he tends to imitate it and also internalize it. Whereas when I make him hear something like sort of advice or something, he might imitate it but not internalize it.
right.
This, I think, is the bottom line of the whole change of behavior in the child. And I can tell you this book, A Father's Diary, to me, it's not only for fathers. I guess it's for anyone. It's for
Yeah,
a father, mother, parent, or anyone who is willing to live life the fullest. Because I think there is also a child inside anyone and everyone. So we should have such type of conversation with our internal child, I think. External child, I guess, will be taken care automatically if we take care of internal child. And this is my full learning and experience from this book. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ganesh. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll move on next to Pranav. Pranav, would you like to share maybe your learning or what really influenced you about the A Father's Diary?
Hello everyone. I'm Dr. Pranav, and thanks for the inviting. Uh, Father's Diary, I think, is a portal of beautiful and meaningful chapters, which denotes not only how to cherish, but also why the bondage with such a beautiful family member is so important. And sometimes everyone around us, and they know they want to have like highest quality of care and comfort in their life, and everyone knows what to do for that, but some of us know how to do that, and very few of us know why to do that. So when I read the Father's Diary, it really recapitulates the lifestyle innocent journey of such a beautiful relation in very few pages. And sometimes when we sit with ourselves, we understand it much more better. And so my think of is must read, not do it, must read, and spend some time with children because the innocence definitely elevates you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pranav. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences as a reader and what you learned from the book. Thank you for that valuable insight. We have Sneha on the call with us. Sneha, over to you next. Would you like to share, what you like best about the book?
Sure, absolutely. So I would like to share how I, started reading this book at a very critical time of my life. So I am a keto coach. So I was establishing my own online systems at that time. So I took up a personal 30-day challenge for myself. So during that time, I just, I was reading through this book, and uh, I almost felt that this was like a concrete support system for me. I'm single. I don't have kids, but like a child, I read that book. Like it's helping me out to learn, and try to implement things. It gave me more energy to, move forward. In fact, one of the quotes from the book really hit me hard, especially the time when I was trying to implement. I'll quote that from the book, which Mr. Manoj, it's his quote in the book. It says that it is better to burn while following your passion rather than rust while following the herd. So that quote really, gave me that insight that yes, I was exactly doing what I want to do in my life. That is my passion. In fact, while there are certain, conversations, a father-daughter conversation, which is talking about how you can have your life revolve around your passion and not just your profession. So one of the quotes which said that, make your passion your focal point and let your profession revolve around it. And these small little quotes can have so big impact in your life that was the turning point for me. And I said, yes, that's exactly what I want to do, because this is my passion and that's exactly what I'm following. So for everyone who would like to opt for a self-help book, a book that will give them a lot of energy and learning, this is it. Even if you're not a parent, go ahead, read this book. Definitely one of the best books I would recommend to read.
Thank you, Sneha. Dr. Sneha, thank you so much and all the best on your I hope it works out for you.
All the best.
Okay, the next person we have is Yogesh. If you're on the call, would you also want to share your insights about the book?
Absolutely, and thank you so much for the invite. I'm humbled. Uh, Firstly, I would agree with most of the readers, the views that they have shared. I think, and I guess if I'm the last reader, then I get more than 1.5 minutes to speak as well.
Okay.
So, well, yeah, I think my experiences, I think it's all matching views that I will be giving. So, let me try to give more views than what you've heard already. So my conversation with Manoj started. I remember about 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago, when I was generally chatting with him that Manoj, why don't you write something on parenting? I'm a parent. I have 2 kids, and honestly, all of us face lots of challenge in dealing with the issues as a parent. And honestly, I was looking for a quick fix. If you really ask me, that Manoj will write a nice book, I will read it, implement it at home, and all done. Honestly, that was my first reaction when I first picked the book, and then I thought, okay, fine, now I've got the keys how to do it. But honestly, after going through the entire book, every line, every page of it, I think it's much more than what one would have imagined. Uh, for me, personally speaking, it's a life-changing book. It gives you a lesson of life in every facet, in every way that the guest readers have also spoken. Sneha just spoke. She's not a parent as yet, but she still learned a lot out of it, right? Dr. Kunal said the same thing, and Ganesh also said the same thing, and I echo the same voice. Uh, there's no one example honestly which I can give to you because every lesson which is mentioned into the book, I think, is as important as it can be. There is nothing which you would like to leave from the book. You would really like to read it over and over again. It's not one-time read, honestly speaking. Unless you read it twice, thrice, four times, there's so much inside of this book that honestly you have to keep relishing it and enjoying it. So my sincere wishes and good luck to Manoj ji and for his book. And I think it's a gift. Personally speaking, I feel it's the gift what he has given to all of us as readers. I see it as a gift because uh, it brings out everything so naturally to the book. I'm so thankful honestly to him, whatever he has done. And and what he's doing. And I wish he keeps coming up with more topics which just touches our life like this. Thank you so much, Manoj, and all the very best
Thank you.
for the launch. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Yogesh. Thank you for sharing your views. And Manoj, coming back to you, the book has been called Self-Help, Parenting, a life-changing book. It has been called a book that cannot be read once, multiple times. So over to you. Let's now, go back to you.
Yeah,
How
thank
about
you.
you
No,
now? Share with us.
so I think we've shared the crux of what this book is about, and thank you all of you for joining in and spending your time. Just wanted to show you the cover of the book, though most of you might already be aware of it and seen it. So this is how the book looks like, and so it essentially has 28 conversations. Thank you. Okay, so this essentially has 28 conversations, and we have approximately 57 lessons that are part of this book, and 57 are what I learned. But I'm sure everybody, as Yogesh also mentioned, and Pranav and everybody mentioned, that everybody learns a different lesson. So my 57 lessons are in the book in these 28 conversations, and you are free to connect with me after you've gone through the book. My contacts are mentioned in the book in the last. Okay, you will see in the second last page, you will see my contacts. You have my email ID, you have my WhatsApp number. You're free to contact me. Any issues that you face with your children, let's connect, let's talk, and let's see if we can find a way out. So thank you very much for spending your Sunday morning here on the session, and I am blessed to have you, all of you, as my readers, and I would be even more blessed if we can connect and talk and discuss and see if we can find ways to have a better and more blossomed future generation. Um, so thank you again, everybody, and take care. Goodbye. Uh, Take care. Bye bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Manoj ji.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.